Good morning.
It is. Again.
Thank you. Just when you were saying what you were saying, I was just really feeling it all. It was just so wonderful. And I want to talk about something that we never talked before about my mother. She transitioned in the summer.
And she finally understands you.
That's actually true. And I was sad for a bit, not a huge amount of time, I understood. And then people were giving me their take on how grieving should go, and did you go to the cemetery? And I was kind of like, are you sad? I go, no. Do you go to the cemetery? I go, no. And so I didn't do those special things, but it was just like a month or two ago. And my question's gonna come. It's a regular day, I just was going to the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and I stopped. And the person looking in the mirror and the person looking back in the mirror were distinctly two different sets of eyes. And I couldn't move. And it's like, it reminds me of when you said you were in that place with the woodworking and you just sat there for hours looking at all the carvings and everything. So it's kind of like that. And it was like really rich. It was like a moment that I never had before with my mother.
Yeah.
And
it's exactly what is happening, yes.
It was like I didn't want to leave. And I just kept looking in the mirror, and I was really happy, and I was smiling, and I was going, wow, this is really good. And it was like, should I go? And it was like, no. And should I go now? And it was like, no. And there was this moment where I left. And so, which leads me to the question, I didn't prepare for this. There was nothing, I wasn't in a particularly explosive mode. Why then? I didn't feel I was in the receptive mode, but I obviously was.
Well, we like it when you realize that you have, without meaning to, stumbled into a moment of allowing.
Exactly.
And often those moments come when you least suspect them, because when you're trying for them, you're trying to overcome something else. In other words, someone who is grieving and who wants to see or sense or know their dearly not so departed is holding themselves apart from being able to receive. But when it's early in the day and you haven't allowed momentum to get started that is resistant in nature, and it is something that you were softly thinking about, in other words, always when you are somewhere in the vicinity time-wise of someone making their transition, it's more active in your vibration. And so we like it when you begin to think in terms of what's active in my vibration, because what is active in your vibration is what's reflected back to you. And we think this is the perfect example of you realizing what was reflected back to you. You're looking through your eyes, but your mother was using your eyes to look back at you. Mm-hmm. And so it was like you seeing you, 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 and the depth and breadth off into foreverness and back from whereverness. In other words, there's no beginning or ending to any of us, but in this moment in time, there you are, allowing a broader part of you to see you, to know you, to love you. That's why you didn't want to leave that feeling, you see. And you never have to. You never have to. It's nice that you catch a glimpse of yourself through the vantage point of someone who is adoring you purely.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
Who always wanted to, but often couldn't, because of her own resistance, you see. And so it was a magnificent point in time for her as well. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, the resistance.
Yeah.
And when the day she transitioned, like, that was the day I loved her the most.
That was the day you felt her love the most.
I felt her love, but I felt the connection.
Well, but you see, when you are feeling someone loving you, it's a shared love, and no one gets to really define who's doing the loving.
It was lovely.
It's that each are focused in on the loving. But the reason that it in some ways caught you a little bit by surprise is because you were for the first time not faced with her resistance while you were thinking about her. There's something so nice when someone makes their transition. You feel so much more kindly toward them, don't you? There's a small window for most of you where you are trying extra hard to look for their positive aspects. And of course, in this case, it was not difficult at all for you to find positive aspects, but we think that's the most wonderful thing about you knowing what you know, and then someone you know making their transition, because it helps you to blend your understanding of what you're about here and what's going on there. And if there is anything that those like us want those like you to understand, it's that we are always focused with you in your now, It's simply up to you to allow it. Now, we don't want you to feel like puppets on a string that someone else is orchestrating. It isn't like that at all. It's just this underlying understanding of your value, that if you can tap into it, and that really is what that feeling of love is, that is the ultimate realization of who you are, then every moment of your day is more wonderful. It's nice to talk about non-physical, and it is delicious to us to talk about vibration, and there is nothing that is more exhilarating to us than to feel you catch the vision of really who you are and what this is all about. This underpinning, this understanding, this way the universe works, as you understand it and incorporate it consciously into your day-to-day conversations and expectations, then your lives are richer and fuller. Everything is better. But saying that, what we want to say even more is, now take this understanding and apply it to the satisfaction of the things that matter to you. Let's get our heads out of the clouds and out of the philosophical and out of the conversation about vibration and how the universe works, and begin to apply it toward things that matter to you. Begin to define with your words what you want, not because the universe needs to hear today what you want, because the universe already knows what you want. There is an understanding of you that is more complete than Esther will ever be able to find enough words to articulate to you in your vortex. In other words, you are understood. But when you speak the words, when you make the statements, when you confirm what you mean, you practice a vibration that allows what's in the vortex to come into your experience. And even more important than that, you get that hands-on feeling of the clay, where you see direct causation between your focus and deliberate attention and what you allow to flow through you in this moment. And if you could feel the circumstances and events that have been queued up for you, the cooperative components that are in the wings just waiting for their perfect cue to enter your experience, watching for your path of least resistance, watching for it moment by moment in nanoseconds that you can't even contemplate. The structure of your world is about your point of focus. And when you catch the spirit of this, and when you begin to deliberately apply it, you will feel like a painter with a brush, who every stroke that you offer makes a difference in what you see. You will feel like the maestro before the most magnificent orchestra, who can pull from each of those talented cooperative components the right sound, the right rhythm, the right whatever at the right moment to make this magnificent whole. You will feel like the maestro of your own experience, and until you do, life's pretty boring. And once you are doing that, the exhilaration of it is unspeakable, really. We are eager in this day to talk about the things that you want to do. We'd like to hear words from you, words of intent, not because intent needs to be spoken, because it already has, but because in your speaking of it, we will be able to help you evaluate the sincerity of the intentional words that you are intentionally speaking. Sincerity meaning, how vibrationally accurate are the words that are coming out of your mouth? Do you mean it? Do you mean it? Do you mean it? Do you know it? Or are these just words that you're trying to use to cover up a vibration that's in a place that you don't want it to be? We want you to use your words to mean it. We want you to use your meditation to get to the place that you mean it. We want you to interact with others in order to find your place in what you mean. We want you to come to mean what you say, and we want you to say what you want. Deal?
Thank you.
Really good. Enough? Really good. Really good.